Okay, welcome to Zoom for Beginners. This is our new life. We have to be able to have meetings and events all through the computer. And as some of you have probably already gone through this, where you've been asked to join a Zoom meeting or attend some event, you know, maybe you've been caught by surprise and you don't know what to do, or you've tried it, but you feel like you didn't quite get all the aspects of it. This is really a great introductory course on Zoom so that you could be an expert at this, hopefully at the end of the session. There are 3 parts to today. One is going to be about just listening to a presentation, a visual presentation. And the second part is going to be a little tryout period where we actually try out a few things like what we've already tried right now, gallery view. We'll also try out things like chatting and using reactions and screen sharing. So this way, if whoever wants to take something out for a spin, they can do something there. Okay. So let's start with what, why, and how. What is Zoom? Why do we need it? And how can it be used to help us? First thing is, Zoom is a video and audio conferencing platform. This makes a big deal because you've probably heard of services like WebEx and other platforms that exist. They've been more about business use, where Zoom actually has a foundational element to it, and it has some incredible use cases. Zoom meetings allow you to do things like video, audio, chat, and presentations, all from one program, all from your computer or other devices. Zoom actually has 2 big products that I want to make sure you're aware of. One is this meetings component, which we're actually on right now, where we can go from having video calls to sharing what's on our computer screens. And by the way, a lot of what we're talking about actually also translates to your phones and tablets. You can actually have an experience where you can have a video call with somebody on Zoom on, say, your iPhone, and then say, hey, let's look at this website together, even though we're 3,000 miles apart. You can actually do that. The second product that Zoom has that's really popular is Zoom Rooms. For anyone in a business setting or depending on how long this pandemic goes, a family setting, you can have a group of people connected with another group of people using Zoom Rooms. Zoom Rooms basically brings that same concept of Zoom meetings, but expands on it by having a whole group of people being able to communicate and see each other, not just via video, but also present information between each other. You'll see in this example here, you've got the video portion, and then you've got the presentation portion on the right side with the screen. What's really cool about this is that that camera you notice on the bottom there actually moves. So if you're wondering, how does the person on the very left in this conference room get to have a conversation that's somewhat more intimate with the group on the other side? Well, it's because the camera actually listens to who is speaking, seeks out that party's lips moving, and actually focuses on that person. It's almost like somebody, that camera is a person in the room that's just turning their head, panning their head to pay attention to that person. And of course, if the person on the right-hand side says something, it listens and focuses on them. So it's a really amazing tool, and I hope we don't have to use it in our homes. I hope we do actually get to go out some point soon, but it's good to see that there is technology out here to help us. The other part to this is that Zoom Rooms have a cool feature where if any of you do have a conference room, you can actually put a nice little iPad in front of it and have it interconnected with Zoom, where it can talk about whether there's already a meeting going on, what the schedule is, and whether you want to book a time in the conference room. So we clearly have a pandemic, and that's why we're talking about Zoom. And I think it helps to get some understanding of what happens during a pandemic and how it impacts us with Zoom. So let's take a look at what happens during a pandemic. Chris, you put the wrong video in, man. This is the wrong toilet paper crisis.
My bad. I just got so much.
Well, at least the cat's handling it very well. The cat's cleaning its paws, so it's going to be fine.
But it's bleeding money, Very valuable.
It's a whole new world out there, folks, and we noticed that a lot has changed, and you know, I can't explain the whole toilet paper thing unless somebody wants to have a comment on that, but it's an interesting experience what we're going through.
Somebody's cleaning up with it.
Yeah. What's really interesting is how are people using Zoom at a time like this when shortages exist, when you can't go outside? And I've found some interesting creative ways that people are doing this. The first most popular way is obviously meetings. People are having board meetings, one-on-one meetings, group meetings, all on Zoom, which is great. But here are some of the other cool creative ways people are using Zoom. Schools, you have to have education, and obviously the semester must continue on. So a lot of schools have been converting over to Zoom sessions where everyone is at home and just connecting on Zoom and just having a nice little, you know, educated environment like that, where you know, you can see each other and interact, and learning can be, you know, a new experience. How about weddings? This was a photo from, this was a screenshot of a wedding that took place where people from different areas were connecting and watching this wedding. It's a remarkable thing what we can do with this. Family gatherings. This is a huge thing. We've been cooped up for 5 weeks. We need to see our loved ones, and look at this amazing screenshot of families from everywhere just connecting. I've actually been seeing and hearing cases of people that connect more now than ever before. So it's lovely. And game time, entertainment. Why not connect with the world and play some games and have a good time with them? This is actually a screenshot of some people playing bingo. And there's a little Easter egg in here, and I'm wondering if anyone spots it. Anyone? And I'll give you a hint. It's a person. You have 5 more seconds.
I'm not even sure I know.
It's an internal secret too.
Nope. Oh, is it?
Ryan guessed it, but we'll have to give other. Okay. All right. I'll point to it, and then you tell me if you notice it.
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
I thought so.
Who's that?
It's an actor named Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
So Matthew McConaughey one day, as part of a nice little volunteer effort, started to play bingo with a bunch of seniors on Zoom.
What's the service also?
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So you could do a lot with this. So let's go into what you need for Zoom. I know that a lot of you already have some equipment. Some of you are using multiple equipment to connect to this session. So I thought I'd go with some of the basics. I've been noticing, especially over the past 2-3 weeks, where I've had Zoom sessions and calls where people have made some mistakes. They've made some choices that were less than ideal, that led to a conversation that was not as good as it could have been if they made the right technology choices. So I thought, let's start with the basics. A laptop. It's one of the most popular products that has a webcam built in. The speaker, the microphone is typically all built in, so it's an all-in-one device that typically works. Most laptops over the past 6 or 7 years have had webcams built into them anyway, so chances are if you've got a laptop, you're going to be fine. Another option would be a desktop with a webcam. If you have a Mac, most cases, if you have an iMac, you already have a built-in webcam, so you're fine. But some desktops will even have webcams built in, PC desktops that is, but most will not. So if you have a monitor and a tower somewhere on your desk and you need to be able to have Zoom sessions, you should get a webcam. You can also connect via smartphone or tablet, which is great. There is a shortage of webcams out there, and it's because of the high demand of all the folks over the past 5 weeks who have been forced to work from home, but now also people that want to connect with family members. So a smartphone or tablet is an excellent way to connect because it's another slim device. I noticed that Fern herself was walking around a bit earlier, and it's an excellent way to just be able to walk around and connect with other people at home and share things that you wouldn't be able to share just sitting at a desk. You'll notice I'm wearing a headset. Actually, my team is also wearing a headset. And you may have been on Zoom calls where people were wearing headsets. As annoying as it can be in some cases, one of the best things about headsets is that you really avoid feedback issues because your microphone and speaker is actually attached to you, so you really don't have that feedback coming in through the microphone and causing some of those odd sounds that occurred during a meeting. It also allows you to hear people more clearly. So we always recommend, you know, if you can improve the quality of your experience, a headset is a good optional component to consider. It's also good, especially because a lot of us are at home, might have other people nearby that are also on Zoom calls or doing things. You want to be able to have that private experience. A mic is another great choice. Go ahead, Mary.
Could you, if Kenny and I are on a call, can we both be using our ear pods?
Yes, you can.
Oh, so both of us, if we're having a Zoom with some friends, we could both be using the pods at the same time?
Not at the same time. You'd have your own. I mean, the other way to do that is to just share the computer together and just be in the frame together,
Right.
instead of having two separate calls, you know. And also to address that another way, if you happen to both be close to each other with your own devices and have headsets, it's good. Don't be too close because you will have some feedback, but you will minimize it. So
Okay.
it allows you to do that. If you do have, like, say, two iPads or two phones, you'll have that feedback problem. That's why the headset is ideal for that.
Do you recommend any particular headset for like a MacBook Air?
We can actually recommend some. I have JC who's actually put together a few items, and we can send those off to you guys afterward. JC, just make a note of that. We definitely have a list of some things that we've been forming. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a question,
Yeah.
Keish. Yeah. As I mentioned before, because I couldn't get a webcam and I'm not really even that adept at setting these things up, I've been doing some Zoom meetings just using my phone and just for a bigger picture, a desktop. Is there any issue with that? Those are the only equipment I seem to use at this point.
Well, I think what you've done is actually okay because I'm not hearing any feedback on your end. So this is an okay solution, Michael. I would say that the only challenge is that, for instance, I'm seeing sometimes there could be an audio like clarity issue. And because what happens in your situation is that the feed, the data that's coming through is coming through on two different connections. So sometimes you may have a delay in video or audio, which could lead to a less than ideal conversation. And when I say less than ideal, let me elaborate on that. I've had cases where I've been in, say, a board meeting or in a very sensitive call, and somebody is maybe, you know, very passionate about something. They may say something, but it cuts them off.
Yeah, I haven't had that particular issue happen yet. I haven't used them for big group things. I've used them for more individual conversations with people. And when I keep the volume down, it seems to work pretty well. Right now, the volume's completely off on my computer. It's just a visual. I'm just using it for visuals.
Okay, got it. That's good.
So you think under that circumstance, I should be fine for the most part?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me answer the question.
You're welcome. I knew you were trouble from the beginning.
No, you're not muted.
I'm
No, you're not.
Okay.
I know. I recognize that voice.
Yeah, that was, of course, it's Kenny. That radio voice.
Deepty's cracking up there. A mic is also another good choice. This is a standalone mic that you're seeing here. This actually is about $100 mic, but what it is great for is if you are in the arts world and if you happen to be doing music or podcasting, or you're trying to start something new. You know, this whole new environment is causing all kinds of people to start new businesses, and you know, entrepreneurs are thinking different. So when you see things like this is great because people have been putting on shows, they've been putting on events all through Zoom, and they want the most crisp and clear sound. So they'll use these microphones in conjunction with a headphone or a headset. Questions so far? Okay, good.
Well, I have a question. Do I just yell it out?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Rennie.
Oh, no, that was my question.
Good question.
Thank you.
You guys are a great lively bunch. I love this. This is nothing like my board meeting this morning, right, Lisa? She's muted. Okay, what do you need to Zoom? Other things besides the computer? This is an important factor. I know that at least one of you had this question, either through this group or through just our support help desk, where if you're having an event and you really don't want to take any chances, you should do a wired internet connection. If you have a computer where your router, your network exists nearby, plug it in, because you're going to have the best and most crisp, clear video and audio call in this session. It's also important because it minimizes lag, which can happen. If you notice, sometimes you're on a video call and somebody is frozen in front of you, but you can still hear their audio. A lot of that is because of issues with the internet connection. A wired internet is great. The other solution, which is probably for most of us, is if you have Wi-Fi, be close to your router. It's one of the simplest things you could do. Don't be on the other side of your house, because you're going to definitely have what's known as latency issues, where when you're talking, somebody is hearing it at a delay. It's not at peak performance, and a simple solution to that is to just be closer to your router. Yes, somebody had a question.
I do, Kish. It's
Hey, Winnie.
Yeah, I actually experienced this yesterday. I had my first physical therapy online session, believe it or not. And I was in a room I never used my laptop in, and he kept freezing. And so finally I just moved into the room with the router. But the other thing I'm wondering is, under optimum circumstances, should there be no delay in the voice exchange?
There's no guarantees of that, because there are other conditions that exist. A couple that I can speak about right now are that there's a high volume of people that are using the internet at their homes during the course of the day. So you have internet providers that are starting to have some issues with capacity. So if that's the case, you may notice some issues. If you notice that Netflix at 1 p.m. was quick before, it may be a little bit slower now, and that's because of capacity issues. The second is there are other factors that could be contributing to this. You could have a problem with your computer. You could have an issue on the service. Zooms, for instance. Zoom also hits capacity issues. It could be an issue on their end. In most cases, though, what we're talking about is what you can control, and what you can control is your connection at home.
Okay.
So, remove any of those barriers as much as possible.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, any other questions on what we've just covered? Okay. All right, Zoom actually starts for free, and the account allows you to have unlimited one-to-one conversations. But of course, as we have already demonstrated with today's meeting, it's ideal to have many people, 3 or more. So the free plan does have some restrictions. One of the biggest restrictions is that you have a 40-minute limit if you have 3 or more people in a meeting. Zoom has been making some exceptions for certain organizations, and due to COVID-19 has been working with people. So it's worth reaching out to them if you really cannot budget for the $15 plan. But if you can, and you find that this is taking off and you'd like to do this more, or you're using it for business, I'd recommend the Pro plan at $15 a month for a person. It's a great deal. It's a bargain. I think it gives you some great security features. It gives you some other benefits, like registering people to show up at an event. You also have control, which we're going to go into next week, where I can, for instance, I can mute everybody right now. I can close the session. I can lock the meeting so that no one else can appear here on this meeting. So there's some really good, robust tools that you can use. And for $15, it's a pretty good deal. Any of the higher tiers tend to really be focused on enterprise and larger business environments, which really doesn't apply for most of us. It's also important to note that only the presenter, the host, needs to have either a free or paid account. Both do not need to have a paid account in order to have a meeting that goes over 40 minutes. As long as one of the two of you have a paid account, it can last for a while. On the host side, that is. The host has to always have a paid account.
So if you're with friends and you want to, and you're having a good time and you want it to go longer, can you sign out and then sign back in?
You can absolutely do that. That is definitely an option. But I know that for a lot of people, it could be an annoyance. It's up there with refilling the parking meter when you've gone upstairs and you're like, oh, great, 20 minutes gone by. Got to go back downstairs.
Right.
But yeah, if you need to, yeah, that's an option, especially if you're really having infrequent meetings or you haven't had that one meeting that goes over an hour.
Right.
So I have a question.
Yes. Is your question that you have a question? No.
No, it's a real question. Another question. If I know that anytime I'm using Zoom, it's going to be for at least an hour and 10 minutes, is it better if I, as the participant, not the host, have that $15 a month plan, or doesn't it matter?
The host is the one that should have that paid plan if you want it to be a longer meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. The participants do not need anything.
Okay.
They can go with free. Unless all of you have paid a subscription fee for this call. I hope not.
No. Thank you.
You're welcome. Rennie, did you say you had another question, or are you good?
No, I'm good now.
Okay. All right, some basics. So these are actually some of the tools. Before we go into these, I just want to share with you, we'll have some time after the session here to actually play around with these settings. So don't play around with them right now because you might do something that makes it harder for you to go back, and then we may be disrupting the meeting. So we'll try this afterward. Just pay attention, relax, enjoy your, what time is it? Is it 2:30? Is it beer time yet? No, 5 o'clock somewhere?
Getting close.
Okay. Okay, so you may be familiar with a bar that appears on the bottom of your screen. It looks like this. And I want to go over every single one of these items so there's no confusion as to what it does. So first thing is the mute button. You'll notice that it looks like a microphone on the left-hand corner. And what you'll notice is that there's going to be a theme that develops here, and that is that each of these buttons has either another option or serves two big purposes. And that purpose is either to unmute or mute you, start your video, stop your video. And so these are fairly easy buttons that people may use during the meeting. You might want to mute your audio because your dog's barking in the background. Or somebody comes in and starts yelling at you. You know, I don't know why somebody's coming in and yelling at you, but hopefully you yell back. Okay. And then you have start and stop video. So there could be cases where, you know, your cat jumps on your table and you go, I don't want anyone to see that my cat's in my way. So you stop it or you start it. You know, maybe you do want to see your cat in the way. You also have a chat window. A lot of us can chat with each other. We can have a chat that goes out to everybody, or a private chat that goes, that's just on an individual basis. And by clicking on that button, you can actually show the chat on the right-hand side or not. You also have a share screen option, which is really amazing. All of us can actually show each other what's on our computer with a click of a button. We can actually say, hey, let me show you this one web page I was looking at for the SBA on loans for businesses. Great, no problem. We can actually look at that together. Or a cool cat video. You also have a reactions button, which lets you either clap or do a thumbs up right now. We have a feeling Zoom kind of half-baked this one. I'd like to see more reactions. But if you happen to have a meeting where there's too many people and you don't want one person to clap or 10 people to clap, you can actually just click that reaction button. And what it'll do is it'll show an emoji on your window that says you're clapping. So at least this way you're not being disruptive. And of course, the panic button. You did something wrong, you got to get out of that meeting real quick. You have an end meeting button. I see Dr. Emerson's ready to push that button.
No, not
Road's
at all.
leaving
Road
me.
is good. I just dropped my dog by mistake.
And you have some advanced buttons. those little carrots that you see are not for eating on the bottom left corner. These are actually advanced buttons. So the one next to the mute is actually an advanced sound control. And what's great about it is that if you click on it and you happen to have, for instance, that cool headset that we were recommending earlier, or a secondary webcam, you can use these caret buttons to actually change to that other headset or change to that other webcam. It also allows you to change or test your audio. I personally felt that it was really important to put that test audio button because a lot of us don't know if people can hear us or if we can hear them. The test audio button is an excellent way, especially if you're going into an important meeting and you don't want to have to not have your audio travel properly. You know, you want to be able to make sure you're heard. That test audio button is great because what it'll do is actually first play a sound for you, letting you know that you know, you can hear things, and then it'll actually ask you to speak into the microphone and it'll play it back for you, letting you know how well you could be heard as well. So it's an excellent button that shows up only when you click on that caret next to that mute button. Same thing with video. If you want to turn it off or on, it's great. And somebody asked this question earlier, how do you get these cool virtual backgrounds? And that's basically how you do it. You know, you click on a little caret and then turn on a virtual background like Chris does with his cool toilet paper stock in the background there.
I actually couldn't get this much toilet paper.
We just thought you were showing off.
Try that now, Kish, or will that ruin the whole meeting? If I choose the virtual background.
Oh no, you can change it at any time.
Yeah, you can do this anytime, but just realize if you make a mistake, we'll have to wait until the end to troubleshoot it. We can all actually play around with them later on, and I'll show you all my cool backgrounds too.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. We also have, we spoke about this briefly earlier. If you notice on the top right-hand corner, the 9 boxes I was referencing, when I had a conversation with Tom Hanks here, you know, as he's recovering, and with his family, in order to have that conversation with his entire family and being able to see them all simultaneously, I had to click on that gallery view button. When you do click on that gallery view button, it will actually show you everybody, the way I'm seeing everybody on my screen, which is great. It will also change back to the reverse button, which allows you to change to a speaker view, where you can just see the one speaker that is actually currently speaking nice and large on the screen. And all the other folks are showing up at the top in small. I personally love the gallery view because it allows me to see everybody at once. And when I really make a bad joke, I know how bad it was versus a good joke. So there was an okay one there. All right. And also chat. When you do click on that chat button, you see this nice little thing that slides over on the right-hand side. And what you could do, just as you can tell here, starting with the first box on the left-hand side, where you want to type is actually down where the arrow is pointing. If you want to change who you're typing to, you'll see the area where the box is saying who to chat with. If you click on that everyone, you can actually choose specific people to have private discussions with, and or choose everyone where if you want to send the message to everybody. This is a great way of actually communicating during a session. If you happen to have, you know, it's like being in a meeting and then going, hey, look at her dress, something's wrong, you know, and you can actually kind of do that all privately, but be careful because I've seen many people not know whether they're talking to somebody privately or to everyone, and they've said some funny things, so be careful. And also try to keep it politically correct and safe, and just to be on the safe side, you never know. And for some of you who happen to have a meeting where you're like, hey, I need to send a file to somebody for some reason, you have that file button where you can quickly send a file so that anyone can see it. If it's a presentation, a PDF, a contract, it's quickly something you can send during the conversation. Questions so far?
I have a question.
Oh, yes. Hey, Fern.
Hi. Right now, I have a few boxes covering the end of my screen where you have a yellow box and it's kind of half blocked. Is there any way to have the whole screen without that?
Are these the video boxes by any chance? They're
Yeah.
stacked with a bunch of video. If you move your mouse on top of, if you move it anywhere on that box, you can actually shift, like click and drag it over to one side or the other.
Oh,
You can move it. You can move it out of your way.
oh, okay, I see. No, I don't know if we can do that. It's not.
You also have on the top left-hand corner,
Uh-huh.
let me see if it's the same view I've got.
Yeah.
On the top left-hand corner, you'll see just a flat line. That actually minimizes the boxes.
Oh, good. Oh, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you're recording, Kish, is it also possible for us to do our own recording?
That depends on host controls. For security reasons, some hosts will say, I don't want this recorded, or I want to be the only one that can record.
Right.
I don't think I've made any specific changes on this one, but it's possible by default it doesn't allow recording. But you can record as a participant as well, if you'd like to.
Okay.
And if that option is available to you based on security settings for that meeting.
Okay.
Okay. And just on a related question, if you're ever wondering if somebody's recording your meeting, you'll actually see the word recording with a little red dot on the top left-hand corner of your screen.
I see it.
So,
Kish, is Kenny's screen frozen?
Kenny.
Because I know he's sitting in front of it.
I'm assuming he's on his iPad, right?
Yes.
I think his camera's pointing out of the one at the back instead of the one on the front. There's probably a button to swap them.
Did that do anything?
No, so far we're still seeing, I think that's like the placemat it's on.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not. Right.
If you tap on your screen, you should see some buttons that appear. One should be what looks like a camera with arrows pointing in opposite directions that allows you to switch or flip the camera.
Let me see. Stop video, share content, participation.
It's very different on the iPad than the computer.
How do you feel about that difference? Or what do you think is the difference?
Me?
Yeah, Mary.
Oh, it's much more user-friendly on your computer. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
There he is. Okay.
It's just that things aren't in the same place. I just find it's on the computer. Things are more friendly. You can find things easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And also you have some limited settings on the iPhone and iPad.
Yeah.
While you can do a good majority of things, you're limited on some of the more advanced functions.
Yeah.
Right now, Kish, this is Lisa. Right now, I'm seeing on my MacBook, I'm seeing just a blue screen saying zoom-etiquette.
Zoom-etiquette. That's right. That's exactly what you should be seeing.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. I don't have the option of the computer, the full computer.
Are you on? Are you
I'm
on
on
a
a MacBook.
Oh, you're on a MacBook. You should be able to see similar features, but yeah, we can maybe troubleshoot that a bit later and see what the options are.
Okay.
See what's
Great,
going on.
great.
So let's talk about Zoom etiquette. So we spoke earlier about dogs barking in the background. Well, you have two quick hot buttons that you can push, and I've got arrows pointing to each of them. One is a mute button that appears in front of the camera that's showing your personal video, how you look, how you appear to others, on the right-hand side, top right, and it says mute. It's a quick button. You just click it, and guess what? No one can hear what's going on in your environment. This is great, especially if some music's playing in the background. I've had cases where people have had their phone on their desk and it's buzzing, and that buzzing actually travels much more for the other participants than it does for you. So from an etiquette standpoint, a lot of the professional Zoomers, let's call them Zoomers, actually will mute their call when there's multiple people involved. I see Soli's already muted her call, Linda, Lisa. So a lot of the folks will do that, especially because they don't want to disrupt the meeting, even inadvertently. And you have a second button on the bottom left-hand corner that's always available to you. So this is great because these are easy to use buttons. Okay, so that's one Zoom etiquette. The other is naming yourselves. It looks like everyone did not have a problem with that, and that's only because this is a registered meeting, so you had to name yourselves before. But I have had cases where, as early as this morning, where people have hopped onto meetings and their name is like the first initial of their first name, and then the last name is like the first 3 letters of their last name. It's you can't identify somebody. So what's important is that when you do get into a call, you know how to rename yourself, and can actually properly represent yourself. But also, some people get a little creative with this, and they say, hey, you know what? I want to also include my company name, or I also want to include my email address. I've had people put in their titles of their roles in the company, and it's been very helpful to have that additional information, and great extra real estate to take advantage of. And the way you do it is you see the little ellipsis that's on the next to the top right mute button. You'll see that is pointing to where arrow number 1 points. You click that first, and then where arrow number 2 points, which is the context menu that appears, you're going to click on rename. So I think I made this pretty clear. So
Kish, just a quick question. I can't see where those really go because there are people over it, including me and you. How do I get rid of that so I can see where to go?
So all you're doing is clicking and dragging. Just push it aside. Click and hold your mouse button down. Just get out of the way.
I see. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Great
Okay.
question.
Right.
That was the same thing I think Lisa had the issue with earlier. So.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Here's some good things to watch out for, not to have at meetings. There are a number of websites now that are posting the silly things that they see during important meetings. The one on the left is of a guy who has a very silly portrait on his wall, not appropriate, and he's conducting big business meetings, and it just doesn't fly. Our homes have become our offices, and we have to make sure that they're professional, or our homes have become just a place to meet with people, of strangers, and we want to make sure we represent ourselves properly. The one on the right is actually a clipping of a video of a woman who is, she was speaking Spanish in the video. So she was in a meeting, and it was clearly a business meeting, and her husband walks by in his undies. And she could not hold her composure at all. She first shooed him away with her hands, and then she couldn't help it but just cracked up, just laughed through the meeting. I mean, you make the best of it, but at the same time, realize your environment and what you might run into, and try to protect yourself by closing doors and telling people, hey, I'm in a meeting, don't disturb me. All right, some advanced tools here. This is where we're going to talk about some nice little features that you may or may not know about, some hidden gems. Virtual backgrounds are amazing. You would click on that little carrot on the right side of the video, and the video icon, and then choose virtual background. So it's a 2-step process, but just when you thought you were done, there's 2 more steps. The third step is to choose one of your backgrounds. So one of the cool things is that we're going to be doing this soon. Don't do it yet. I know you guys are excited. You guys all want to find your cool toilet paper backgrounds. But the third step, pick one, and the fourth step is to just click on that X on the top right-hand corner and close that. So you can be done with that phase, but the background still persists. And if you want to change it, you basically rinse and repeat, start with number 1 again, and go all the way to 4. Any questions on this?
Are we going to do it?
Not yet, not yet. When we wrap up, we'll do that. We're actually going to go back into a gallery view, and I actually am really excited to see what you guys come up with here. By the way, just so you know, on the right-hand side, what you're seeing are some pictures that Zoom actually includes. There's also videos, which is really cool. So you don't actually have to have a still background. You can actually have a video background that continues to move. So if you want to be on the islands, guess what? You could do that. Maybe turn up the heat and pretend you're really there, get a margarita, and enjoy a good time.
I want to say something before you continue about the backgrounds. So these backgrounds actually persist through your next meeting too. So that's just a heads up that after your meeting's over, if you want to change it back to a none, that's important in case you don't want that background for your next meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
I shouldn't always have this much toilet paper. One other thing, like how I got, Zoom didn't include the toilet paper background. If you notice on Kish's window there, there's a little plus sign in the upper right above where he's choosing the virtual backgrounds. So you can import your own images if you want and videos.
Okay, but just so I'm clear on this is strictly at the option of the host, not the participants.
No.
No.
This is for anybody. And it's actually for the participant. It's not exclusive to the host. It's for anybody.
Okay. Thank you.
I've had people show off a nicer office or a nicer home than they really have, and okay.
That's good. You don't have to clean up before you have a Zoom meeting.
Exactly.
Now there are cases of artifacts. If you have a background, I mean, whatever's behind you, if you don't have too many items, the background could do pretty well. But if you have a variety of items, you have a desk, a bookcase, a variety of things, you may notice artifacts and items kind of showing very clearly that you have a fake background, and it looks a little funky.
Like
so if it looks a little funky, don't use this feature. Click on that none background, so you just have your background of your lovely homes.
I have a quick question.
Yes, Michael.
Yeah, let's say you've changed your background and you just, at the end of it, want it back to the way it was originally. The background that you'd have originally, I don't think would be in that one of the boxes. Would it just automatically go to that, or is there a way to sort of?
None.
Just none.
It's the none background. So you're either choosing one of these.
I see it over there in the corner. So you just go back to none,
Yeah.
and it goes back to whatever's really there. Whereas you just click the other one if you want San Francisco or whatever else in the background.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And Kish, one more thing on the backgrounds.
Yes.
What is the purpose of the mirror option?
So so this is actually an interesting one. Let me actually demonstrate this. This is my right hand. I'm shifting to the right. And if you did not want that to happen, this is actually something that broadcasters do a lot of times, where if I'm going to right, it actually will show my left hand going to the left, which some people actually prefer that view. I don't know why. I personally like to know if I'm looking this way, that it's consistent. It's not showing the opposite.
Okay.
Or a mirror effect. Any other questions on virtual backgrounds?
What does I have a green screen mean?
So some people who actually are doing this on a more professional basis, and now more people doing commercial work, what they'll do is they'll actually have a physical green screen in their background, like Hollywood movies have, where they want to pretend that they're in front of the Eiffel Tower or falling off the Eiffel Tower. So they'll actually just have somebody going, ah, and then they'll have a green screen in the background that then puts in them falling off the Eiffel Tower. So that's a green screen allows you to actually have a really good quality virtual background show with minimal artifacts.
Okay, so on mine, when I do this, it says I have a green screen, which I don't have, and I uncheck it, and it says computer doesn't meet requirements.
So that is a case that we've been seeing with certain computers where maybe if the specs are a bit lower or older, if the computer has older specs, it may not be able to have the processing power to generate that background, because you are actually faking what's behind you. So it requires a lot of computing power in order to do that. In other cases, it could be the environment. I see in your background, for instance, you have a wall with pictures, you have furniture. So sometimes it can complicate it, and it just doesn't know how to process that information. In my background, which we moved into this office in December, and I have yet to settle in because it takes forever. It's a nice flat background. So a lot of the virtual background stuff actually works out pretty well. So you look kind of, it's
so
not able to process that.
To me.
So a simple test you could do is, if it's on a laptop, go to an area with a flat background, just a wall that has nothing on it, blank.
I'm in my office, so this is the background.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like the background stuff will work for me.
Correct. So if you're appearing like that, you should not be using it.
Okay.
Kish, I don't understand how you have a green screen and then How do you add the picture you want to the green screen?
Well, that's what, if you look in the slide, if you hit the plus sign that JC was talking about earlier, that's how you actually add a picture. A lot of these pictures, by the way, are available on the internet. You can actually use your own pictures if you'd like. You can use pictures of family members. And you just add them by hitting the plus sign over here.
Okay, this is way past my pay grade. Yeah, I'm clueless.
I will tell you that in most cases, when people are using virtual backgrounds, it's either to hide an environment that they don't want to show, or it's seldom used. It's used more for like just playtime.
I understand how you put one that's already prepared. I don't understand how you do a green one and then you have a picture of someone falling off the Eiffel Tower. Where do you get the picture of someone falling off the Eiffel Tower? I mean,
off the internet.
Oh, and you have to download it onto the screen.
Right.
Definitely past my my grade. Okay.
Yeah, but you could use this, let's say if you were going to like a social event or something, let's say there was a party or something and you wanted to meet people, you could color up your invitation by showing something nice in the background and then clicking it off.
Yes, you can definitely do that. And we'll play with it in a bit here. So let's address some more questions afterward. I just want to, we're actually at the home stretch here. So, okay, reactions are an important thing, especially in a large meeting. If you click on the reactions button, you can actually choose 2 right now that are available to you. The first one you notice in where the arrow number 2 is pointing is for either clapping or giving each other a thumbs up. If you agree with something, that this is a great way to do that without having to disrupt the meeting. And this is a fairly advanced feature. We don't necessarily have to go into this, but if some of you want to dabble in it, we're open to trying it out. It's sharing your screen. The point of sharing your screen is to do something like what I'm doing right now. Instead of having a video conversation with you, I am actually on a Google slide presentation here, or a PowerPoint, and I can share my thoughts, my ideas, a website. We can look at things together. I've been in meetings where people have said, oh, what is the government saying about COVID-19 and how they're supporting businesses? And we've said, well, the SBA said this. Well, stop talking about it. Let's just actually go to the website together right now and pull it up for everyone to see and interact and talk about. So the way this works is, first thing is you would click on that share screen button. And then what you would do is you would see this little pop-up box that appears that you're seeing here in the presentation. And you would choose a screen. In my case, I have 3 monitors around me. So that's why you're seeing so many boxes. Most of you will probably just see screen or whiteboard. And if you choose screen, you're actually showing off your computer screen. And you can use it as you normally would use it, and the person's seeing it. Just like in my case, right in front of me is actually not video boxes, but it's this presentation. The whiteboard is a cool little tool. It is a digital whiteboard. You can get a little creative. So for the creative folks, Mary Ellis, who wants to draw something maybe, you could draw together. You and Noah, who's in India right now, can draw together. You know?
Very cool. Very cool.
All right. There is one more thing here. When you are sharing your screen, this is an important thing because when you're going to do this, you won't necessarily be able to tell you're sharing your screen until you see at the top edge, you're going to see what you're seeing at the top here in the slide. It'll say stop share. And it actually slides away from your screen when you move away from it. When you move your mouse to the top edge, you'll actually see it slide itself down so that this way you know you have some advanced controls. In other cases, you may see the following here on the bottom part of this presentation, which is a more complex set of menu options. The point of this is, if you are sharing your screen, especially in the next few minutes, and you say, hey, I want to take this out for a spin, you have to know how to stop it. So that's why I'm educating you on this one. If you don't know how to stop it, you know, it could be a little problem. Any questions on sharing screens? Do you guys want to see that again, or are you guys good? Okay, everyone's still awake. That's a good sign.
We're getting there.
All right, I do have 2 more slides beyond this, but I thought I'd say thank you and also ask for any questions that I could address.